You know, sometimes the biggest, most epic stories are hiding in the plainest sight, not in some grand library or official archive, but right there in the margins of an old family Bible. And today, we're going to crack one open, because the simple record of a family's life can actually show us how an entire nation was born and how our whole world was completely remade. Okay, so right away, inside this 19th century book, something just jumps out at you. You've got this beautiful, old-timey script for a baby girl named Ellen, born in 1847. But then, right next to it, in modern ballpoint pen, it says Eric Bolt's great-grandmother. It's such a weird and fascinating collision of time, you know? It immediately makes you go, wait, who are these people?
And that right there, that's the big question for us today. We're going to follow this one little thread, starting with this one family, and we're going to zoom out. We're going to see how their story reflects the violent birth of a colony, the absolute dawn of the machine age, and even a massive shift in how we as humans experience time itself.
So, first things first, we have to meet the matriarch of this story. Her name was Ellen Murphy, and let me tell you, her real life was a world away from the kind of quiet, peaceful image a family Bible might bring to mind. I mean, just look at this. This one document tells you everything. On the left, you see her conviction record from 1830. She was just 15 years old, a nurse girl. And why was she transported for 14 years? For stealing a fan and 4 books. But then you look at the right side, and you see the brutal reality of her new life in Van Diemen's Land, what we now call Tasmania. It's just a relentless list of punishments. Solitary confinement, hard labor, being reprimanded for insolence. This wasn't a new beginning for her. It was a daily battle for survival. And you have to understand, the whole system was designed to break people like her. The sources are pretty clear about this. Female convicts were totally dehumanized, and the places they were imprisoned, like the Cascades Female Factory, were just awful. Built on a swamp, incredibly unsanitary, a breeding ground for disease. This was the world that forged Ellen Murphy. So, to really get a feel for the world this family was born into, we need to zoom out. What we're going to do is take the key dates from their Bible and see what else was happening around the world on those exact same days.
Let's start right here, in 1835. This is George Mainwaring, the man Ellen will eventually marry. He's just arrived on the convict ship Aurora. He's 24 years old, a plowman from England. His long journey is finally over, but he's stepping into a world that is in total chaos.
So think about this for a second. As George is stepping onto Tasmanian soil, the horrific Black War against the indigenous Palawa people is in its final, tragic phase. Back in England, society is being reshaped by major political reforms. In the sky, Halley's Comet is blazing overhead for everyone on Earth to see. And in the worlds of technology, Samuel Colt patents the first revolver, a device that is going to fundamentally change violence and power forever, all at the same time. And we can't forget the sheer scale of all this. 73,000 George was just one of 73,000 convicts that were transported to this one tiny island between 1803 and 1853. An entire society was literally built on the foundation of forced migration. Now let's jump ahead 12 years to 1847. And despite everything they've been through, a new family is putting down roots. George and Ellen have a daughter, and they name her Ellen. Yep, the same person from that very first slide. It's this little moment of personal hope in a really complicated world. But again, let's zoom out. At the very moment this baby is born, the last group of Aboriginal Tasmanians are being forcibly exiled. At the same time, in England, the literary world is going crazy for these brand new books called Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. The world is shrinking because the first postage stamp was just issued in America. And medicine is about to be revolutionized with the first use of chloroform. I mean, the speed of change is just unbelievable. And that change came at an absolutely staggering human cost in Tasmania. By the end of the Black War, it's estimated that only about 200 Aboriginal people were left alive on the island. A culture that was 40,000 years old was nearly destroyed in just a couple of decades. We're going to jump forward one last time. It's November 14th, 1893. George Mainwaring, the plowman who arrived in chains, he dies as a free man at the age of 78. He lived long enough to see a world that his younger self just could not have possibly imagined. And what a world it was. By then, Tasmania wasn't just a penal colony. It was developing its own economy. In England, the Labour Party was founded, completely changing politics. Across the water, New Zealand became the first country in the world to give women the right to vote. And in America, some guy named Henry Ford just built his first car.
Can you believe that? From the invention of the revolver to the invention of the automobile, all in one man's lifetime.
So this family story, it shows us more than just changing technology and politics. It actually reveals something much, much deeper, a fundamental shift in how human beings even relate to the idea of time itself.
Yeah, the source material calls this the shift from breathing time to mechanical time. When this Bible was first written in, time was, well, it was fluid. It was connected to the sun, to the seasons. An hour in the summer felt longer than an hour in the winter. Life was synced with nature. But the world George died in? That was a world of clocks, of standard time, of factory schedules. Life was no longer synced to the sun. It was synced to the whistle.
And so in a way, this family Bible became an accidental archive. It wasn't just tracking a family's history, it was actually preserving the final moments of a way of life that was vanishing forever, a time when our human rhythm was still tied to the breathing of the planet.
But there's one more pattern that this history brings to light, and it's a kind of psychological echo that you could argue continues to shape Tasmania even today. The analysis points to these three distinct waves of exclusion.
So here's how it breaks down. Wave 1, the British settlers arrive and violently exclude the original inhabitants, the Palawa. Wave 2, the colonial system then creates another layer of exclusion, marking the convicts as other, as outsiders. And then there's a third wave, a modern one, where the descendants of this whole traumatic system create their own insider culture, which in turn can exclude new people. It's this repeating pattern where the people who were excluded end up becoming the excluders.
And this quote from the analysis just captures the whole irony of it perfectly. The descendants of convicts are now the jailers. The very people who came from a background of being caged and controlled ended up, in some ways, replicating those same patterns of exclusion. It's like the ghosts of the old prison walls still haunts the culture.
So we end up right back where we started, looking at a simple record. This one family Bible, with its fading ink, managed to capture a story of 150 years of revolution, trauma, and incredible change. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? 150 years from now, when someone looks back at our records, our digital footprints, our social media posts, all of our data trails, what patterns are they going to see? What story of our world will our footprints tell?